How many class? Today the topic that we'll be studying is equations of circles. To start off with, first let's just understand that if I tell you that what a variable point on the graph means. If I write a point on the graph is x comma y. Now this x comma y can be anywhere on the graph, right? So what does an x and a y mean? X technically means the horizontal distance from the origin, and y technically means vertical distance from the right. So now if I go for their squares and I tell you that x square, which is the horizontal distance squared from the origin, plus y square, which is the vertical distance squared from the origin, is equal to 25. Obviously, this matches Pythagoras theorem, and I am relating it to the hypotenuse and the square of the hypotenuse being 25. So what will be the hypotenuse? The hypotenuse will always be 5 in this case. So if I tell you that eventually the distance from the origin is 5, so when you draw it on a graph, you get a circle with center 0 and 0, and radius is 5 units, right? So we can simplify or we can generalize this equation in this form, that x square plus y square is equal to r square. And whenever we have an equation in this form, we can always interpret the two parameters of a circle. What are those two parameters? The center and the radius. So in this particular case, center will always be 0 and 0, which is the origin, and the radius will always be r, which is the square root of whatever constant we have on the other side. Let's go through a few examples. If you want a worksheet, you can always request it and we'll have a look at it. Okay. Now let's write some equations and understand their center and radius. So I'll be writing the equations and we will try to understand its center and radius. Okay, guys. So let's just write the first equation, x square plus y square is equal to 16. So the center is 0, comma 0, and the radius is 4 units. Similarly, I write x square plus y square is equal to 36. Center is again 0, comma 0, and the radius is 6 units. Now if I write x square plus y square is equal to 5. So center again is 0, comma 0, and the radius is square root of 5. So obviously you can get the decimal value from the calculator, but to be exact, square root of 5 will be the radius. If I write an equation, x square plus y square minus 10 is equal to 0. So obviously we'll take 10 on the other side, and you'll eventually end up getting circle at the sector 0, 0, and the radius will be square root of 10 units. One last example, x square plus y square is equal to 20. So we get the center as 0, comma 0, and the radius is 2 under root of. So these are a few examples and few forms in which you can write the equation of a circle and get its center and radius. Okay, moving on now. Let's try to take this step further and go understand circles when the center is not the origin. Okay, now what if I write a point x minus a? I can say that through graphical terms, if I tell you there is a point x minus, there is a point x, and if I write it as x minus a. So what does this mean? This means that x is a point and I am considering its horizontal distance from A. And similarly, so I'll say x is a variable point and x minus A will mean that, just write it separately, write it. Okay. So now what if we have x minus a square plus y minus b square is equal to r square? Again, when I'm writing x minus a, what does this mean? It means x is a variable point and we are considering its distance from A. Similarly, y is a variable point and we are considering its distance from B. Obviously, this is a vertical distance and this is a horizontal distance. Coming to this, we are again getting r square, which is the hypotenuse or the distance from A comma B. So in these particular scenarios, we can say that the center is A comma B and the radius is r. So let's go through a few examples. Okay, I'll be writing the equation and we want to get the center and the radius. So let's just go through the first equation. X minus 3 whole square plus y minus 2 whole square is equal to 4. So in this particular case, the center is 3 comma 2 and the radius is 2 units. Similarly, if I write another equation, x minus 1 whole square plus y plus 5 whole square is equal to 9. So in this case, the radius is 1 comma minus 5 and sorry, the center is 1 comma minus 5 and the radius is 3 units. Okay, another case, if I write x plus 6 whole square plus y square is equal to 20. On this particular case, the radius is minus 6 comma 0 and the radius is 2 square root of, let me write it first, square root of 20, or I can also write it as 2 under root 5 units. Do you see that if there's just y square, obviously the center coordinate will become, the center of the y coordinate will become 0. So let's write another example. X minus 2 whole square plus y minus 1 whole square is equal to 1. So in this particular case, the center is 2 comma 1 and the radius is 1 unit. Similarly, if I give you another equation, x square plus y minus 2 whole square is equal to 16. So now the center is 0 comma 2 and the radius is 4 units. Okay, now let's just go through another equation. If I write it as x plus 2 whole square plus y plus 1 whole square is equal to 5. So in this particular case, the center is minus 2 comma minus 1 and the radius is 5. Okay, now if I were to simplify the operations that I'm doing, in order to get the center, let's understand center and operations. To get the center, what are the operations that we are doing? I'll write it down as well so that we understand it. Okay, to get the center, whatever equation we have, okay, so we want two things, right? And we have to define the operations for that. So the first thing we want is to get the center. What do we do for that? To get the x coordinate, what do? We take x minus a and we put it equal to 0. Yeah. Let's write this equation here. Plus, and what do we do to get the y coordinate? We take y minus b, whatever is inside the square, and we equate it to 0. So we get the x coordinate as a, and we get the y coordinate as b. So these are the operations that we have defined to get the center. And to get the radius, what do? After we have two completed square forms, we take the constant on the other side and square root it. So if we have r square, we simply take square root of it and we get our r. So these are the operations that we have defined to get the center and the radius. So in order to simplify, these are the forms that we have to get the center and the radius of any circle if we are provided the equations in completed square form. Now remember that once we have the equations in this form, we can figure out the center and the radius. Now let's go to the expanded form. Okay, I'll take this particular example because I already know the center and radius for this one. And from here, we'll proceed to the fully expanded form. Okay, now let's expand it. If I expand it, I get x squared minus 2ax plus a squared plus y squared minus 2by plus b squared and minus r squared is equal to 0. So x squared plus y squared minus 2ax minus 2by plus a squared plus b squared minus r squared is equal to 0. So now this is the equation that I have, right? I already know the center and radius for this one. I know that the center is a, comma b. And I know that the radius is r. Now all I need to do is understand and define the operation of getting the center and the radius from this expanded form. So what do I do to get the center and the radius from this expanded form? I can say that if I take the coefficient of x, what is the coefficient of x? It is minus 2a. And I divide it by negative 2. I already know, remember, I already know that the center is a, comma b. I only need to define the operation to get the center. So what do? The operations are take the coefficients of x and y and divide them by -2. This is to get the center. So what do? I take, okay, -2a divided by -2 and -2b divided by -2. Again, I'll get my center coordinates, which are a comma b. Now let me write the expanded form in such a way that is provided in the 2fx plus 2gx plus c is 0, because all of this become a single constant. A square plus b square minus r square is provided as a single constant in the equations. Okay, so what do we do with this? We have, again, applying the same operations. Take 2f divided by -2. I get -f comma, to be one, sorry, -f comma minus g is the center. Now what about the radius? How do I get the radius? See, a square plus b square minus r square are all the terms that equate to a single constant in the expanded one. So let me just write it as a square plus, sorry, a square plus b square minus r square is equals to c, a single constant that is provided in the equation. So if I make r the subject of the formula, I can write it as r, first write it as r square is a square plus b square and minus c. So what do? I say, in order to define this operation, I will say that take the coordinates of the center, square them and add them up, and subtract the constant. So these are the operations to get r square. Then obviously we can take the under root of the entire thing and get our radius for the given equation. I hope this is clear. We'll go through a few examples of this one as well. Again, let's go through a few equations and we'll try to get the center and the radius for this. I'll take the questions from my worksheet for this one. I have this equation. First of all, what are the coordinates of the center? Take the coefficient of x, there is no x, and if we divide it by -2, so obviously you get 0. And you take -2, which is the coefficient of y, and you divide it by -2, you get 1. 0, comma 1 is your center. Now what about the radius? Understand r square first. What do we do? 0 plus square plus 1 plus square and minus the constant. The constant in this one is 3, -3, sorry. So the value of r square will be 4 and the radius will be 2 units. I hope this is clear. Let's go through another equation. Okay. Now again for this one, take the coefficient of x, which is -6 divided by -2 and you get 3. There is no y, so there is no coefficient of y, and that will be 0. And what about the radius? R square will be square 3 and add 0, and there is no constant c, so r will be r square will be 9, or radius will be 3 units. Let's go through a few more examples. Okay, first figure out the center, take the coefficient of x, 2 divided by -2, we'll get -1. Take -8 divided by -2, we get 4. What about r square? R square will be square of -1 plus square of 4 minus the constant, which is 16. So r square will be 1 and radius will obviously be 1 unit. Similarly, let's go through another example. Okay, now what will be the center for this one? Take the coefficient of x divided by -2. 4 divided by -2 is -2. Coefficient of y divided by -2. And what about r square? Take -2, you square it, you take -3, you square it, and you now subtract the constant, which is 12 in this particular case. So r square will be 4 plus 9 is 13 minus 12 is 1. So radius will be 1 unit. Another example. Again, what we'll first figure out the center, what will be the coordinates of the center? Take -2 divided by -2, which is 1, and -4 divided by -2 is 2. And what about r square? Take 1, square it, add the square of 2, and subtract the constant, which is -20 in this case. So r square will be equal to 1 plus 4 is 5, 25. So the radius will be equal to 5 units. Similarly, let's go to another question. Hey class, again for this one, what will be the center? 16 divided by -2 is -8, and 30 divided by -2 is -15. What about the radius? R square will be -8 squared plus -15 squared and minus the constant, which is 285. So r square will be equal to 64 plus 225 minus 285, which is 4. And r will be 2 units. So I hope this is clear. These are the basics of circles, and through this circle equation, you can easily interpret the center and the radius of a circle.